you.
Great. So let's start just again about the agenda. So first we'll go through the classification in Europe. Then we'll try to explain the rules of the game on how to classify the products. Then the objective is also to help you with some documentation that are existing, some guidances. So sometime when you are looking at the rules, you don't know exactly what classification to apply here. So I will give you some tools to also find maybe the right classification for your products. Then we'll go through some example of product classification and some quizzes also about that, where, as I've said, I will try to ask you if I can say your opinion on this classification. What I can do is I can send to everyone the link for the EU MDR so that you can also make this exercise with us. So I will send that to you when we'll do the quiz directly. So first, the classification in Europe. So mainly, I will look at that at the end also of the presentation. In Europe, they have their own classification rules. It means that if you go to other countries, they have other classification rules. But here we are specifically looking at the European Union, how they are classifying their products. So in Europe, you have the regulation that is new actually, which is called EU MDR, so European Medical Device Regulation, 2017-745, and you have 4 levels of classification in Europe. You have the class 1, which is a low-risk device. You have class 2A, class 2B, and class 3, and class 3 is the highest risk devices here. So now that you have that, you have also to understand that there are some subclasses which are under the class 1. So the subclasses under the class 1 are class 1S, which is a class 1 device that is delivered in a sterile condition. You have class 1M, which is a class 1 device that has a measuring function. And you have class 1R, which is a class 1 device that is reprocessed, which is reprocessed. The class 1R, it's a new classification that came with EU MDR. Before it was not existing. So it's a new classification. It's only, and it's important to say that, it's only for reusable surgical instruments, nothing else. If you have something that is reprocessed, but it's not a reusable surgical instrument, it cannot be class 1R. So you have really to understand that. So just also a precision, if you go to the regulation, class 1S, you will never see that. You will never see the term class 1S, class 1M, or class 1R. You will see the term, you'll see the elements called class 1 with the sterile function. And just sit down here, sorry. Class 1 with the sterile function, class 1 with the measuring function, and class 1 with that are reprocessed. So this is something that is really important for you to understand, that on the regulation, there is nothing that is said class 1S, class 1M, or class 1R. You have really to understand that, because some people are asking me, oh, I don't see that at all in the EU MDR. And the point is that, yeah, it's not existing there. Now that you know the classification, you have also to understand clearly that this classification, it's not just to say it's a class 3, so it's a high-risk product or whatever. The classification, the objective of the classification is mainly to define which route you have to take to then go to the market. So mainly this is that. If you are a class 1 device, you have to go through Annex 2 and Annex 3 of the legislation. Then you have to go to Annex 4, which is the Declaration of Conformity, and Annex 5, which is CE marking. This is always like that for everybody. So Annex 2 and Annex 3 is the technical documentation that you have to create with post-marketing surveillance. Annex 4 is then when you have created that to write your Declaration of Conformity and then to put the CE marking on your device. This is what we call the self-certification, because there is no intervention of the notified bodies. If you are class 2A, so you define your product as class 2A, the same, you have to go again to Annex 2 and Annex 3 for the creation of a technical documentation. So it's the basis. But here, and we look at that after, the notified body, because you need a notified body for that, the notified body will be sampling your technical documentation. They will not look at all your technical files. They look at certain technical files per a certain code, which is the MDR code. So you take all your products that are class 2A. If you have multiple products that are under the same MDR code, then they will just take one product inside this MDR code. So this is also important to understand for the sampling for the notified body, how they will be checking that. Then when you have done your technical file, you have 3 routes to choose. Or you can go through Annex 9, which is the review of the quality management system and the review of your technical documentation. Or you can go to Annex 11 Part A, which is the production quality assurance, which is a certain way to check your products. Or you can go to product verification, Annex 11 Part B. Usually, everybody is going through Annex 9. So this is mainly the thing. If you go to Annex 11 Part A or Annex 11 Part B, usually you are going through that only for a small lot of products and something where a notified body has always to come and to verify every product that you will be releasing. So if you are releasing a small lot of products, for example, let's say that you are delivering 50 units of these products every 2 years to the same surgeon, you don't want to go through a certification with every year they are coming to verify your documentation. Every year they are checking that you have done everything for the products, because you are just making 50 units per year or per 2 years. So here you can go maybe to Annex 11, Part A or Part B, where they will be coming and checking just this lot of 50 products that you have created, and then they approve them, and then you can release them on the market, and then there is no need for doing all the rest of the activities for that. But as I've said, usually the notified bodies are saying to me that they are 98% of the people are going through Annex 9 of the regulation. So this is annexes that are existing, but not a lot of people are using them. So when you are contacting a notified body, they will ask you, which annex do you want us to come to audit you? So this is mainly the question that they will ask you. So you will have the application form, and you will say, come to audit me for Annex 9. And then they will come for Annex 9 of the regulation for that. So you decide. It's why you have 3 choices, and here you decide which one is preferable for you. And then after that, when you have made the audit, you create your declaration of conformity, and then you put the CE marking as the others. If you go to class 2B, it's exactly the same. So technical documentation, but this time they are not sampling your products per your MDR codes. They are sampling your products per your EMDN code, which is another code that is created for the products. So it means if you have multiple products under the same EMDN code, for class 2B, then they will take only one of them. So this is the sampling rules for that. We'll just look at that just after. And if it's not if it's an implantable product, class 2B implantable products, that is well established. So it means that it's a product that is well known. It's on the market since 15, 20 years, and every products are safe. Then it can go through this route of sampling. If it's a non-well established, so it means that it's a new technology, then if it's an implantable, it has to be reviewed, each one by one should be reviewed by the notified body. So this is also some nuances. I will just show to you just later what are a well-established technologies per the EU MDR. So products that are considered as normal or as well understood by the regulators. So here it's the same. You have 3 routes again. You have or Annex 9 again, or this time Annex 10 first, which is the type examination. So the Annex 10 is mainly that they are verifying one type of your products. For example, you have, let's say that you are manufacturing MRI scanners. They will check one MRI scanner completely, and then they will confirm that if this MRI scanner is good, then all the others are okay also. So this is the route that you can take by going to Annex 10, and then again, Annex 11 Part A or Annex 11 Part B. So you have again 3 routes here. One thing that is important is that if you have an active device that is injecting or removing medicinal products from your from the patient, then it has to go through an expert panel. The expert panel is external to the notified body, where they will review that your clinical evaluation report are doing well. So this is mainly an additional support for that. But if it's not a class 2B active device, then it will not go through that. And class 3, it's the same as class 2B, but here they are reviewing every technical file one by one, and the rest is exactly the same. There is just here a consultation. If your products contain some medicinal product, then it has also to go through the European Medicine Agency for that. And the same, you have the expert panel if your product is, you have the expert panel for every product here on this case here. So you see that more your classification is high, more requirements are available for your product. So some manufacturers are trying to reduce as low as possible their classification for that. But as I said, the rules are clear on how to classify your product. So you have, we'll look at that just after. So as I've told you, if you are asking yourself, is your product a well-established technology, WET, so WET? So here are the list of products that are considered well-established within the EU MDR. So suture, so if you have those suture, nylon suture, whatever, staples, dental filling, dental braces, tooth crowns, screws, wedges, plates, wires, pins, clips, or connectors. These are considered as technologies that are well known on the market. So then they don't have to go through a full, if I can say, review by an expert panel or for a full review by a notified body. They will be considered as well-established technologies, and then there is no need for making a clinical investigation for them, no need to make what we call an implant card for them, etc. So there are a lot of things that you can avoid because these products are considered as well-established technologies. So as I've said to you, you have guidance, which is called MDCG 2019-13, where they are talking here about the sampling methodology for your product. So as we said, class 1, there is no notified body, so there is nothing. Class 2A, they will take one representative per device code MDR code. Class 2B, they will take one representative per EMDN code, which is called the generic device group. And if it's class 3 and implantable, they will look at everything unless it is a well-established technologies. So this is also something that you have to understand, because when they will come to audit you, they will ask you your portfolio product and they can pick each product. You can say, okay, I will take this one, I will take this one, I will take this one. So they will select which product they want to review. So they can be lucky and take the one that you don't want them to take, or they can maybe ask you, they can say, okay, which one do you want me to take? And then you have to know already which product you prefer them to show instead of looking at another one. They can ask you, but usually they are picking a product and they are really taking a product they want. So mainly this is their decision. So now that you know that you are your CE certificate, your CE marking, I said the classification route can be also different per the product. So here, when we have a class 1, so if your product is a class 1, or if your product is a custom made, so custom made is has also a new definition now on the EU MDR. So it's a custom made class 1, class 2A, or class 2B. We call it self-certified. So self-certified, as we said before, there is no notified body, but there is still the authorities that can review your documentation. Self-certified means that normally you are doing the job by yourself. You create your technical documentation, you create your quality management system, then you create your declaration of conformity, then you want to place the device on the market. So then you go to the authority where you are based. If you are based in Europe, so which country you are based, you go to the authority of your country. Or if you're based outside of Europe, you go to the authority of your authorized representative. So then the authorized representative will be submitting your notification of your products inside the European Union, and then to say, yes, your product is fine to go to the market. So it means that the authority, when you will notify them, they can still say to you, okay, your product is a class 1, it's fine, but I want to see this document or that document. So it means that you cannot just say, oh, I'm a class 1, so nobody will review my documentation. So I don't need to create a technical file. I don't need to create a quality management system, because the authorities can still review that. So you have to be careful on this, because they can still ask to check some documentation. And if you don't have them, they will not authorize you to be on the market. So this is also something that is important here. If you are a class 1S, a class 1M, or class 1R, as we said before, there will be a partial certification by the notified body. What does it mean? The notified body will not come to audit you specifically for the product. They will come to audit you for the specialty of the products. What does it mean? For a class 1S, they will come to audit you only for the sterile function of the product. So they will ask you, can you show me the validation of the sterilization for this product? Do you have documentation that are proving that the product is sterile? Do you have a confirmation that your sterilizator is validated, etc.? So they will be focused only on the sterilization aspect of the product. For a class 1M, they will be focused only on the measuring function of the product. So like, is there a calibration? What are the methodology for calibration? How is the frequency of calibration for the product, etc.? Anything about measuring the function to confirm that the measuring is correct. And class 1R, it's a reprocessing. So mainly it is verification that, because normally, you know, when you are writing the instruction for use, you are saying, oh, before to use the device, you have to clean it, to disinfect it, to sterilize it. The sterilization should be at 180 degrees during 3 minutes, etc. So this is the methodology that you are giving to the user for the sterilization and cleaning. Then prove me that this technology or this methodology is working. So you have to have a report showing that you have made tests about this methodology and it was cleaning correctly your device. There was no issue about the cleaning, the disinfection, and the sterilization. And this is mainly what they will be liking to see. So you see here, they are not looking specifically at the product. They are looking specifically at the methodology for a sterilization or measuring function or reprocessing. Then you have the class 2A, class 2B, and class 3. And as we talked about that just before, this is a full certification by the notified body, so they'll check everything. And you have a last category, which is a drug device combination, where, for example, you have a drug product that is included inside a medical device, like a pre-filled syringe. For example, a pre-filled syringe, this is not a medical device, this is a drug, because if I give you a plate with inside 3 syringes, 3 pre-filled syringes, one with, for example, morphine, one with heparin, one with insulin, which one will you take? You'll take the one that has the drug that you need. It's not, you are not taking any the syringe just because of the syringe. You are taking it because of the drug that is inside. So it means that the drug that is inside is the most important part of this product. So then it's a drug, it's not a medical device. But the EU MDR, the new regulation, is saying that even if your product is a drug and it contains a medical device, the medical device part of this product should go to a notified body to be reviewed. So here you have also a partial review by a notified body. And what is new also is that for class 3 implantable custom-made devices, those products have also to be partially certified by a notified body, not on the product itself, I mean, a bit of the product, but mainly on the quality management system. The point is to be confirming that your company has a quality management system for implantable devices. So this is mainly the idea of this here. So now let's go through the rules of how to apply. Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption.
No
if you have just the sign for attendees they need to access, as you are the host, can you just let them in? You will see it on the screen.
Let me check.
Or if you know how to make me as a host, I can handle this.
I have no clue, to be honest. I will check that, but
no problem. Just
let me check how it's working. I'm not really used to Zoom. I like doing like that, so I'm participants.
Okay.
I will check that here. Click on participants and admit all. Should I admit all? Is that what you're asking? Okay, great. Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Fine. I find it. Okay. Okay, so now the idea is mainly to ask you how to apply the rules. So the rules, so you have to understand that there are some rules to read. And when you are reading those rules, then you can define what is the classification of your products. And I will explain you that just after, and I will show that to you also. So first, in comparison to maybe some of the countries, you have to define the classification of your product by yourself. It's not, you cannot, for example, go in European Union and say, oh, can you tell me what is the rule of the classification of my device? What is the class of my device? It's you who is choosing. It's you who is justifying that this is this rule or that rule or this classification. So this is the thing that is a bit difficult with companies that are going to Europe. The notified body is not here to be consulted. So it means that you cannot consult them and tell them, oh, can you give me my certificate, my classification, and then I will work on it, etc. No, it's not working like that. The notified body is here only to assess all the work that you have done. So they are not able to give you any consultation in terms of the activities for this certification. So it means that when you are going to classify your products, you have to make it by yourself. So you have to define by yourself. If the notified body is not happy about, if I can say, the classification that you have defined, this can be a problem for you, because as you've seen, if you have made the wrong classification, then you have maybe didn't maybe choose the right route to go to the market. So then this can be a problem for you, because you have maybe not made all the activities needed here. So the point is mainly that you have to define the classification. So you have to be really careful on doing that. And then the notified body can say yes or can say no. If there is a conflict between you, because maybe they say, no, it's not the right classification and you cannot change, or you don't want to change, or you say, no, I am right, you are wrong, etc. If there is a conflict between you and the notified bodies, then you have to use the Article 51 of the regulation that is saying mainly that you can consult your authority to then go in justice, if I can say, against your notified body for that. So you can decide that also. But you are the one that is really in charge of defining this classification. So how to define the classification? So the classification is defined by first looking at how much time is your device. Yeah, sorry, I was muted, sorry. So here you have to define how much time your device is used, if the device is invasive or not, if it is powered or not, so it's active or not, if there is a presence of drugs. So these are the elements that you have to define also for the classification of your products. You have to define that because each of those elements will be making your classification change here. Here, when you read the rules, and I will show that to you, you have to look at all the rules. You cannot just say, oh, you maybe go to rule 4 and say, oh, rule 4 is exactly what the rule for my device. Then you don't go to the rest of the rules. You have to look at all the rules. And if there is multiple rules that are applying, so you go to rule 4 and say, oh, yes, it's rule 4. And then you go to rule 8 and say, oh, yes, rule 8 also apply. And you go to rule 12 and say, oh, it's applied also. Then you have to select the rule with the highest classification. So you say, oh, rule 12 is class 3, and rule 4 is class 2A, and rule 8 is class 2B. Then class 3 is the highest classification. Then you have to take rule 12, for example, for that product. So you see here, you can have multiple rules that are applying. You take the rule that with the highest classification. If you have multiple devices together, so you have maybe one device, one machine plus one accessory or one patch or one thing, etc. Each component that are considered medical device have to be classified by itself. So it means that each one of them, you take them one and the other and you classify by themselves. If you want to classify, if you want to have one class for the full device, you can consider it as a system and classify with the highest classification. So if, for example, the machine is class 2A, class 2B, the patch is class 2A, the other thing is class 1. So you can say that as a system, the highest classification is class 2B, so my device is class 2B. You can look at that like in that way. But normally, each of the elements here should be classified by themselves. So you have to take them one by one. Even if you have an accessories for a medical device, also they have to be classified by themselves. So you have to classify every element one by one, and then you can define each rule one by one on how to place on the market. But classification is not only for a full device, it can be also for each element of the device. So the duration of use is really important. It's why I wanted to be a bit more precise here. The duration of use, it's mainly how many times this device will be used, but it's cumulative. What does it mean? Normally you have transient use. So it's written as transient use on the rules. So it's below 60 minutes. Then if you are using your device between 60 minutes and 30 days, it's called short-term use. It's also something that is mentioned on the rules. And if it's more than 30 days, then it's long-term use. So as you may understand, higher is the usage, higher can be the classification also. So this is mainly what is also driving the classification for this product. So the transient use is below 60 minutes. Now, imagine that your product, you say, oh, my product can be used during 59 minutes. And then it should be replaced with another product. So you think, oh, then it's a transient use. No, here we are talking about cumulative use. So it means if you are replacing the device immediately with the same device, just because, oh, maybe it's a plaster, and you say, oh, the plaster should be staying 60 minutes, 59 minutes, and then you remove it and you place a new plaster with 59 minutes again and remove it, etc. Then it's cumulative. It's 59 plus 59 plus 59 plus 59. And then you are higher than the 60 minutes and you are lower than the 30 days. Then it's short-term use. So you cannot just say, oh, it's 59 minutes, so it's short, it's transient use. You have to make it cumulative. So if you are replacing with the same device just after, then it is cumulative. Then you have to use the complete use of the device from A to Z. So if you want to classify your products, you have to go to the Annex 8 of the regulation. So the Annex 8 is mainly the annex where you have all the information. I will just show that to you in a minute. In the Annex 8, you have the rule between the Rule 1 to Rule 4. It's called the non-invasive devices. But you have to be careful because in the Rule 4, they are talking about invasive devices. So here it's a bit the difficulty is to say, why are you talking about invasive devices? Because it's non-invasive devices. This is also something that you have to be sure. It's why I'm telling you also read each rule one by one. So the title is not meaning that everything is fine. Then rule between Rule 5 to Rule 8, it's invasive devices. But inside the Rule 8, you have some active implantable medical device. So if you are looking for active devices, Rule 8 has also some active devices inside. If you look for active devices, so Rule 9 to Rule 13, then inside the Rule 11, you have software also. So software is considered as an active device also here. And then between Rule 14 and Rule 22, you have special rules. And we look at that just now. So Rule 14 is, for example, if your product contains a medicinal substance, you have to have in mind that if your products contain a medicinal substance, that is not maybe the primary usage, your medical device is a class 3. There is no thinking here. As soon as it's a medical device and it contains a medicinal substance, it's class 3. There is no discussion here. And it's Rule 14. Rule 14, class 3, there is no discussion anymore. So each time somebody tells you, oh, my product is a good product and it contains a small substance of medicinal product, class 3. There is no discussion. Contraception, prevention of sexual transmissible disease, and it's Rule 15. If it is also a device that is used for disinfecting, cleaning, or rinsing another device, then it's a Rule 16 here. If it's recording X-ray images, then it's a Rule 17. If it's used with animal or human tissue, then it's Rule 18. All what is red is a new rule that is coming with EUMDR. So EUMDR didn't have EU MDD didn't have these rules, and then they are added with EU MDR. If you are having nanomaterials within your products, so then it's rule 19. If you have invasive devices with respect to body orifice that administer medicinal products, then it's rule 20. And there is rule 21, which is interesting here, because it's all the substances that are intended to be introduced inside the body or used on the skin before those substances, or majority of those substances, were considered as class 1 under MDD, and now they are considered as class 2A, 2B, or 3, which is higher classification here. So you have also to be careful about those substances here. And the last one, active device with a diagnostic function, is also important here to look at. So you have, as I've said, to read each of those rules one by one so that you can classify your products. Let me share with you quickly how it looks like. And as I've said to you, so here is how it looks like. I'll make it maybe a bit bigger. Annex 8. So when you go to Annex 8, which is the annex we just talked about, you have, as we said, the different definitions that we talk about, duration of use, invasive active devices, what they are, etc., and the rules that we just talked about before. And just after, you have all the rules that we talk about. So rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, etc. For example, if we go to rule 5, all invasive devices with respect to body orifice other than surgical invasive devices, which are not intended for connection with an active device or which are intended to connection to a class 1 active device, are classified as class 1 if they are intended for transient use. So if they are less than 60 minutes, it's class 1. Class 2A if they are intended for short-term use, except if they are used in the oral cavity, as far as the pharynx, in a ear canal up to the ear drum, or in the nasal cavity, in which case they are class 1, etc., etc. So here, you have to read each rule one by one, and you think, no, this is not applicable to my products. So then let's go to the next rule, etc. Or yes, this is applicable to my product. So let's read that one and let's find if this is fine or not. And when we are finding the rules that is good, rule 6, for example, let's say, okay, now you have to go to rule 7 to confirm that all the other rules are not applicable. And you go 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. until rule 22. And when you finish with rule 22, you say, okay, I confirm that rule 6 is the rule for my products, and my product is class 2A, for example, within rule 6. And this is something that is really important for you to go through it. If it's the first time that you go through that kind of route, the point is that you have to check that many times, if I can say, to go there. Now, if you are used to do that, if you are used to go through each rule and you know already that this rule is not applicable or whatever, then no need to go through each of the rules again. So the point is that you have to practice it many times so that you can really define which rule is really applicable for that. And as I said, I will ask you maybe a bit later, we have made an exercise like a quiz exercise. I will ask you maybe to go to help me or to help during the audience to find which rule and which classification is applicable so that we can do this exercise also together here. Now, you are doing this rule classification, so you are checking that. And even after that, you are still not sure. So meaning that you are not sure if this product is really class 2A, class 2B, class 3. So what I have done is that I have compiled some guidelines or some elements that will help you to define the classification of your products without you searching for years and years so that you can identify something quickly. First, we have a guidance. We have the MDCG guidance. So MDCG 2021-24. And this guidance will give you some examples of medical devices and their classification. So it looks like that. You have some tables here. And it tells, for example, for rule 10, here are the rules that we have looked at just before. And they give you on the last column here some some examples of products here. So let's go through it quickly. I'll just put that here. So for example, no. So for example, here, let's go through it. So when you go through it, what you can do is that you can look at each of the rules one by one. Let's go quickly. So you can go through each of the rules one by one. So rule one, they tell you here is the rule that is defined on the EUMDR. And then they give you a lot of products that are considered as rule one. For example, spectacle frames are rule one, incision drapes, rule one, wheelchair pushed by hand are also rule one, class one. So here they give you things. So what you can do is that you can also do what we call a control F. So you just make a search, control F here, you make a search of, what can we say? So for example, MRI, I don't know if MRI is here. No, it's not MRI. So scanner, nothing. X-ray, let's say. So here, for example, X-ray, therapeutic X-ray source. This is class 2B per rule 9. So here you can do this exercise to put some keywords about your product on this guidance here. And then if you find it here, for example, if you find, I don't know, therapy, dental handpiece here, then you know that it's a class 2A per rule 9, because it's mainly what is on the regulation here. So this is a way for you for identifying quickly some rules. You can do the exercise, as I've said, to go through rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, rule 4. But as I said, sometimes, even if you do that, you are like, I don't know. So let's get some guidance. And this is the guidance that you can use also for that here. Another document that you can use, and it's really an important document, it's what we call the borderline manual. The borderline manual, it's a document that sometimes you are thinking, is my product a medical device? And you think, I don't know. So you are really struggling to understand. And what is important is that the borderline manual is a document that is showing to you. It's a document that mainly, you remember we said that sometimes there is a conflict between notified bodies and manufacturers, or conflict even between companies that say, oh, my product is class 2A, and the other competitors say, no, it should be a class 2B, so you should make it class 2B. So it's just to make the things, if I can say, clear that the manufacturer is putting a wrong device on the market, and then they want to go to court about that. Or the product is a medical device, but they regulate it as a cosmetic, or a product is a drug, but they regulate it as a medical device, etc. So here they are giving examples, concrete examples of products. So here you have a list of products. Let's say, for example, we take water filter. So is a water filter a medical device here? So here they are giving you a background, the product, what is it exactly, the outcomes. And here they say the water filter does not come into contact with injured skin, and it does not disinfect medical devices. So neither rule is applicable. Water filter systems that are used mechanical barriers such as fiber, etc., then are not qualified as medical devices here. Should not be qualified as medical devices here. So here it helps you to define the class, if this is a medical device. But it also helps you to classify when they define it's a medical device. So when you go to some of the products, so for example, adhesive bandage, let's go to this one maybe. Oh no, let's go to another product, which is drops. So eye drops, for example, eye drops, this can be considered as a medical device or a drug. And you have here to define what are the rules. So here, eye drops with a medicinal product, this is not a medical device. But eye drops that are regulated as medical device, they tell you here at the bottom here, what are the potential classification for that? So let's go to the classification. Eye drops regulated as medical devices. And here they tell you, for example, these are class 2A or class 2B, but here it's still under the previous regulation. The idea here is that they are providing you some guidelines in terms of which classification and why you have to use this classification for the products. What they are doing now, they are creating a new borderline manual which is now just released this month. So this is the borderline manual that is released for the regulation EU MDR. And they are again doing this exercise to look at the different products and look at the regulation for each of them, so that you can identify if this product is which rule and which classification for the product. So this is something that is starting to be available, but it's not complete as actually. So it's drafted. There are a lot of things that are not complete, but you can start to look at them. So this one, which is the previous one, is more elaborated with more products. This one, they are starting to write some products, but it's not like the other one. So it's mainly that that is really important here. Here it's 91 pages, and here it's 18 pages here. So it's why you have maybe first to look at this one to go more in depth in terms of classification. And then if you want, you can go to this one just to check if your product is maybe also mentioned there. But here it's also a good document that is really explaining to you first if it's a medical device, and second, what is the classification of this product if it is a medical device, and gives you some rationales why this is this classification and this rule to be looked at. So here are the examples of the borderline manual. And if you are also a software company, you have to understand that before with the NDD, mainly 98% of the software, 95% of the software were classified as class 1 only. Now, with the EU MDR, we have the rule 11, which classifies software between class 1 to class 3. So here it can be difficult for software companies to define what is the classification of my device. So here, this guidance, NDCG 2019-11, is providing you exactly some rationales also of how to classify your software. So if you are making some software, it tells you, this guidance tells you first if this software is a medical device or not. And second, they tell you which classification should be used for this software. So this is a good guidance, if I can say, to do that. They also give you some examples of software. For example, if you have a software that is to manage the patient documentation within your hospital, this is not a medical device. But if the software is providing some analysis of the result of some exams and then gives you some alerts to say this is too high or too low, etc., give some decision about some exam, then it is a medical device. So you have to use this guidance to identify if your software is a medical device and what is the classification also of your software. And here, for example, on the software, it depends also on the rules. If it's a critical, if it's for diagnosis, if it's for informing things, so then the classification can be different also. So there is also some guidance, which is the IMDRF guidances, which are giving you some hints about the classification. But my advice is really to go to this one, the MDCG 2019-11, which is more accurate for EU MDR for classification. But here it gives you some idea of the classification per the different parameters for your software here. And a last thing that you can do, the EU MDR is also asking the European Union to put in place a database for registering your devices, which means that you can use this database to maybe define the classification of your device, because you know that your competitor is registered in the database, and you can go just to check this product, the product of your competitor on the database. And then you say, oh, if my competitor placed this device as class 2A or 2B or 3, then maybe my product is class 2A or 2B or 3. So this is mainly the ID here. So here, for example, we can go and put the keyword or model name like wheelchair, and then it will tell you, it will send you a list of all the products that are within this with this term wheelchair. And they tell you, for example, in the column risk class, they will tell class 1. So it's mainly an exercise that you can do. The thing is, the EUDAMED database, I'll just show that to you here. The EUDAMED database is not mandatory for the moment. So it's voluntary, so people can start to register inside the EUDAMED database, but it's voluntary. by 2025 or 2026, normally it will be mandatory, and then people will have to register their information there. But for the moment, it's voluntary. So you will not have all the products inside. But what you can do, as I've said, you can go here, you can write, I don't know, suture. I don't know if suture is working. Here, suture. Suture. So here you have some suture that are class 2A. You have some suture that are class 3 here. So you have to go here. But what you can do is that when you see that difference, you can go inside and you read exactly what is this product for. Is it a system procedure pack? Is it implantable? Is it this? Is it that, etc.? And you can read and check if this is similar to your product. And if it is similar to your product, so I say, okay, then this is a class 2A, which is fine. But you have always, normally, when you are doing classification, always to look at the class, but also the rule. Which rule have you used to classify your products? You cannot just say class 2A. Class 2A is too vague. You have to say class 2A per rule 3 or 4 or 5 or whichever rule that you have identified for your product. But you have to mention which rule is applicable for your product here. So these are, if I can say, the methodology that you can use to identify the classification of your product. So you go through the rules. If it's not sufficient, you go through the different guidances, guidance for classification, or the MDCG for, or the borderline manual, or for software, or for Udemy. So there is multiple documents that you can use for identifying the classification of your products, even in the case you are not able to do that. So if you are okay, because we are nearly to the hour, and we are to the hour now, I wanted to go through a small mini quiz where we can help you, if I can say, to classify your products. So I'll just send you maybe per chat here, the chat to everyone meeting. I will just place here the EUMDR rules. No, the guidance, the EUMDR guidance. And what you can do is that when you click on it, here you can go on the table of contents and you search for Annex 8 here on Annex 8. So you click on Annex 8 and you arrive to the Annex 8. So now that you are in Annex 8, as I said, you can go here to the classification rules. So the idea is that I will give you some products and you will tell me if it is a class 1 or 2A or 2B or 3, but which rule also you are considering for this device. So first is the pair of glasses. So just to make it quick, it's easy. It's between class 1 and class 4. So this is the first elements. So if you can on the chat, maybe just write which rule it is and which class. So here it's non-sterile, non-active, non-invasive, long-term use. So if you can just tell me which class and which rule you consider for that, could be great. So as I said, it's between rule 1 and rule 4, so no need to go further this. I'll give you just maybe 1 minute, and then you can write that directly on the chat here. So after searching for Annex 8, let's go here again. So you should read rule 1, which says mainly that if all the other rules are not applying, so then it's rule 1. Then you should read rule 2 and see if this is matching with a pair of glasses. Then you should read rule 3 if this is matching with a pair of glasses. And you read rule 4 and check if it is matching with a pair of glasses. As I say, it's not beyond rule 4, so it's fine. You can just stay on rule 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you find which rule is applicable, then you can find then the classification for it. So when you read that, which rule is applicable for a pair of glasses? So this is mainly the idea here. Okay, Miriam says rule 1. Which classification, just to be sure? Exactly. I mean, rule 1 has only one classification anyway, so it's class 1. So rule 1, class 1. So let's say that is correct for this one. Let's move to the next one. Blood bag. Here, just one thing. Sometimes the rules are written in a way that the name of the device is already in the rule. So here the same. You can also make a search on the different rules and just search for blood bag, and you'll find it immediately. So blood bag are non-invasive, short-term use, non-active, and sterile. So what is the classification and what is the rule for a blood bag? So it's written inside the rule directly. It says a blood bag is that. Nurhan, rule 2, Miriam, rule 2, class 2A, it's wrong. It's not class 2A. Nurhan, yes, rule 2, class 2B, exactly, and Maisam also. So rule 2, class 2B, and you have here that here rule 2, which says, except for blood bags are classified as class 2B. So you see here, it's kind of easy. You have all the information directly there. Then insulin pump. So this is invasive. This is long-term use. This is active, and this is sterile. So here, it's the special rules which are like 20, 21, 22. So one of those 3 rules is applicable. I'm just giving you those sections so that you are not searching everything because it will be too long. So it's between the last rules, 20, 21, 22 rule. Invasive, long-term use, active, sterile, so insulin pump that you are using. So what is the rule and the classification for the device? So I see, Faisal, that you say that it's class 1S, for example, for the products, or class 2A or class 1S, I don't know. So just for class 1S. Oh, so, okay. I just saw Nurhan say, I don't know how to use the site. So you have to go through each rule one by one. So for example, we talk here about insulin pump. So let's make the exercise together then. Number 20, as I said, between 20, 21, 22. So here I look at 20, all invasive devices with respect to body orifice other than surgical invasive devices, which are intended to administer medicinal products by inhalation, are classified as class 2A. So here we are not doing by inhalation for the drug, unless their mode of action has essential impact on the efficacy, etc. So here we have no inhalation. So then rule 20 is not applicable here. Rule 21, devices that are composed of substances or combination of substances that are introduced to be into the human body via body orifice. So here, my device is not substances or combination of substances. It's a device. So it's not just a substance. It's not a cream, or it's not something that you are just injecting by yourself. So it's something like that. And here, active therapeutic devices with an integrated or incorporated diagnostic function, which significantly determines the patient management by device, such as closed loop system or automated external defibrillation, are class 3. So this looks more like this one, rule 22, class 3 here, because mainly it's an active therapeutic device. It's active. It's also a loop system that is verifying what is your insulin inside your body and then inject insulin or don't inject insulin. But mainly this is the way that this is working. So here, rule 22 can be applicable for this kind of thing. And let me check quickly this one here. F insulin. So here you see automated closed loop insulin delivery system, which is what we are talking about here, rule 22, class 3. So you see here that I just put insulin on the keywords and I find this rule that is applicable with class 3. So class 3, rule 22, and you have here rule 22 and the elements that are used here. Pacemaker. So everybody knows a pacemaker, an artificial cardiac pacemaker. It's invasive, long-term use, active, sterile, and implantable. So it's between rule 5 and rule 8. Just to be also, to make it a bit more precise for you. So rule 5 and rule 8. And I told you already before that there is one rule that is talking about active devices, because rule 1 and rule 8 is mainly invasive, but here we talk about active implantable device. So here, this rule is for active implantable devices. So again, you can go through the different rules, you just read them, and you define which one is containing any active implantable devices here. Rule 5, let me check rule 5 with you. Rule 5. Okay, invasive rule 5. All invasive devices with respect to body orifice, other than surgically invasive devices. So here, a pacemaker is invasive surgically. You have to cut the body and to place the thing inside. So here, for example, this is not applicable to this, this rule here. Here it's transient use, for example. Our device is not transient use, it's long-term use. Here it's short-term use. Our device is not short-term use, it's long-term use. So then we have to go to later. So here, implantable device, long-term use. So here we are more in long-term. So here, and I see rule 8. So rule 8 is long-term. And here you have a specific sentence which says active implantable devices or their accessories, in which case they are class 3. So this is the sentence that you have to take then to classify, to say, my device is a class 3 per rule 8. So here, class 3 per rule 8. And you have to be, and you see how difficult it can be when you read and you are normally the expert of your device. So you should know how your device is working. So then you have to define if this is really matching with your device. But your notified body can also read your documentation and say, oh, no, it doesn't look like that. It looks more like that. And you have then to justify why you have said it's rule 8 or it's class 3, etc. So you have, you are the expert, not the notified body. So you have to convince them why you have decided to make it this rule or that rule. And this is what is important also. So one last one with there is a trap here. I want just you to see the trap here. A dental implant, which is invasive, long-term use, sterile, and implantable. And here, don't go anywhere, go just to rule 8, nothing else. Go to rule 8 because it's there in rule 8. And tell me what is the classification for this product. No sound from my side, or no, I have some sound from my side. So do you have it? 2A. Anybody else? Okay, so let's give you the answer then. So the answer is 2B. Exactly, Faisal has it. So rule 8 2B. Why? Just to be sure that you understood what is a dental implant. A dental implant is that there is no more teeth. The teeth is not there anymore. then you place the dental implant. So the rule 8, it says all implantable devices and long-term surgical invasive devices are class 2B unless they are intended to be placed in the teeth. The teeth is not there anymore. So you are not placing anything in the teeth because the teeth is not there anymore. Then if it's a crown or if it's something that you are placing, if I can say, on the teeth that is still there, then it's class 2A. But if it's a complete dental implant, then it's class 2B. So this is also the thing that you have really to be careful by reading those classification. You have to be sure that, yeah, the teeth is there. See, if the teeth is there, then it's fine. Rule 8, class 2A. But if the teeth is not there anymore, then it's rule 8, class 2B. And this is mainly the difficulty here. So a last element that I want to share with you is sometime when you are looking at a label of a device, you can already identify devices that are with the right classification. Here you see the CE marking. You see the CE marking, it's alone, there is no number. If the CE marking has a number behind it, then it means that this is the number of the notified body. And as you've seen, if you have a number of notified body, then you are or class 1S, class 1M, class 1R, class 2A, class 2B, class 3. You are one of those. But if there is no number like this one, then it means that it's a class 1 because a class 1 is self-certified. So if you see a device that is class 1, normally there is no notified body number here. But just maybe to see if I can say you understood a bit what we discussed today, can you find a mistake here just because for the classification of the product? So I will just tell you, I mean, what is the thing, but I wanted just to ask you, can you find a mistake with what I've said to you now? I said that you have to have a notified body number, that class 1S, class 1M, class 1R, 2A, 2B, 3 should have a notified body number. And if you don't have a notified body number, means that you are a class 1 there directly. Exactly. So great. So you have it. So here it says that it's sterile. So if it's a class 1 that is sterile, then there should be a notified body number here. So if you see a label like that with a CE symbol and sterile, you say there is a mistake here. This manufacturer is not compliant. His product is not compliant to be on the market because it means that he has placed his product on the market as a class 1, but as it is sterile, he hasn't consulted the notified body, then it's not compliant to be on the market. So this is mainly the thing that you can also catch up as a regulators or as people. When you look at a label, if you see no notified body number, that normally it means it's a class 1. But if you see a sterile symbol or any symbol that shows that there is a sterilization on the product, then you say, okay, there is a mistake here. Your product is wrong. Do you have a CE certificate for your products? And this is how you can also catch up some mistakes here. And I want just also to clarify something. As I've told you, the classification depends on the legislation on the country. In Europe, it's class 1, 2A, 2B, and 3. In the US, it's class 1, 2, and 3, which is completely different because even in the US, they are not using the rules to define classification. They are using what we call a product code, which is a completely different methodology to classify. So for example, if a product is a class 1 in Europe, maybe it's not a class 1 in the US. You cannot compare them because the methodology are completely different. And if you go, for example, to Canada, it's class 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, each country has its own classification. So you cannot say, oh, my product is class 1 in Europe, so it should be also class 1 in Canada or class 1 in the US. It's completely different. Each country has its own regulation. So be careful also of that. So here is the end of my presentation. So if we can go for questions, if you have any specific questions here.
Thank you very much, Munir.
Right.
It's an amazing presentation and very informative and interactive.
Thank you.
The meeting now is open for questions. If you have any questions, please just share it on the chat box.
Thanks, Nurhan. Thank you very much.
Okay. I might have a question to you, Munir.
Okay.
If you have software that does the software can drive the classification in a medical device?
So normally, when you have a software that is embedded, so it means it's inside the medical device, yes, because as you said, it's a system, but you have to classify still each element one by one. So it depends the software, if it's included inside and is driving the device, yes, this is what will drive also the classification. If the software is a class 3, for example, but you consider that the device is a class 2B, then the classification of the system is a class 3. So it's driving the classification of the device. So
critical use.
Exactly. Here, as I said, the system should take the highest classification on all the components that are inside. So if there is an element that is class 3, then the system should be a class 3 device.
Yeah, and if we have a company that is looking for a efficient plan to follow, what is the timeline, the deadlines or timelines now from the European Commission that they need to consider? And
so first, it's not the European Commission that you will be contacting. So it's not like, as I've seen in the other countries, where you are going to the health authority for maybe certifying your device. Here you have to contact a notified body. So a notified body, this is a company, and it's why I will tell you it's really difficult actually for that. So I will be really helping on understanding that. So here is the list that you have to consider. This is the list of the notified body that are authorized to certify your products under EU MDR 2017-745. So you see here there are around 33 notified bodies that are appointed. You can contact any of those notified bodies. What you have to do, and I told you before, you have first to identify which annex you want to go for. So here, for example, you write the annex that you want to go for. You say, I want to go for Annex 9. And then you have to write the MDR code of your product. So let's say you are, as we talked about before, we talked about software. So here we have the MDA 0315 for software. So you click on that, you make a search, and you find that there are 32. So before we had 33, there are 32 notified bodies that can certify you for software. Then you can pick any of them and contact them for coming to certify your products for CE marking. The problem is that you have 32 notified bodies, but everybody is busy actually with the transition to EU MDR. So actually the timeline to get certified in Europe is around 18 to 24 months. So to get certification. So it means that even if you contact your one notified body now, they will say to you, oh, contact us in 9 months because now we are busy with a lot of other manufacturers. So we are not ready to make you certification now. So maybe they'll place you in a waiting line until you get, if I can say there. But it's not the authorities that you are contacting one of those notified bodies. And then when they will have time, because these companies are private companies. This is not governmental organization. This is private companies that were authorized by governmental organization like France Health Authority or German Health Authority to then provide you a CE certificate for your products. So then you have to contact them. So to contact them, it's easy. You go to the page, and inside there is the address, the phone numbers, the website, etc., that you can go for it. And here you see this number 0459. This is the number I told you that should be within the CE marking for when you are your product. So when you will be placing your products on the market, you will have to put the CE, and you have to put the 05459 for if you are certified by GMED, for example, here.
Yeah, and since the pandemic, there was postponed the implementation for changing from directives to the new regulations 2017. Is there any deadline now that they need to consider for the currently?
So since the 26th of May 2021, EU MDR is active, which means that since the 26th of May 2021, any product that goes on the market should go through EU MDR. So the delay due to pandemic was the initial date for the implementation of EU MDR was the 26th of May 2020, but they delayed of 1 year until the 26th of May 2021 because of the pandemic. So now, as of today, it is implemented, and EUMDR is the law for the country. If your product is still is on the market already within the EU market, and you have a previous MDD certificate, you can continue to place your device on the market under MDD until the expiration of your certificate. As soon as your certificate under MDD expires, you have immediately to get certified for MDR. So it's why I'm saying that as there is 18 to 24 months, if I can say, to get certified, even if your certificate expires in 2024, you have to think of it now, as of today, to start to contact a notified body and then get certified for it. So this is something that is a bit misunderstood by some medical device companies. They think that, oh, they can wait until the end of their certification and then contact a notified body. No, you have to consider that like a landing, like a plane that is landing. You are not landing at the end of the track, if I can say. You are landing from the beginning and then go smoothly to land. Here it's the same. You are not waiting the end of the 2024, which is the end of the transition period, to then start to contact a notified body. You are contacting them before and then start to smoothly, if I can say, land to the new EUMDR regulation.
Yeah, and you reconfirm on the part that determining the qualification, if the product is regulated as a medical device, is the first step before you go for the classification and checking the regulatory requirements. So the part of qualifications is very important, because a lot of products maybe are not a medical device from the beginning.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
this is a big mistake that a lot of people are doing, is that they go heads up to, oh, make me a technical file, or make me a quality management system, make me this. No, the first thing is, is your product a medical device? Maybe it's not. So think of it as a first thing. Confirm that this is a medical device. If you think this is a medical device, but you are not sure, that maybe you will be doing all the exercise of making it a medical device, and the notified body, when you will contact them, they will say, but why are you sending that to us? It's not a medical device, this. So then you spend a lot of time, you made a lot of effort, you paid a lot of money, if I can say, for a product that maybe is not a medical device. So first, is your product a medical device? Then when you confirm this is a medical device, then what is the classification of my medical device? When you know the classification, then what is the route, as I showed to you before, what is the route for certifying my product? So this is the way that you have really to go when you go from a project from A to Z. But I had a lot of companies that contacts me and they say, oh, I have my products, can you make all the documentation for it, etc. And when I look at the product, I say, but this is not a medical device. For example, I'll give you an example. I have a company that contacts me and says, oh, we are manufacturing the screens that are used in the hospitals to check if I can say, the scans or MRI, etc., etc. I say, okay, but are you just manufacturing the screen, or also the software that will manage all the images and this and that? I say, no, I'm just making the screens. And then I sell that to, for example, big companies that are having those kind of softwares, which will put that inside and then sell that to the hospitals. And I said to them, then your device is not a medical device; it's just a screen. It can be any screen. Yeah, but the companies wants to see that it's a medical device, so it can be used. No, this is not a medical device. This is just a screen. When it will be with the software inside, with all the things inside, then it will become a medical device, as you've told me before about software that are embedded inside a medical device. So this is the point where now it's a medical device, because there is a software that will manage all the images, maybe contrast, maybe analysis of it. But a screen alone, even if it's used in hospitals, is not a medical device. And this is mainly the thing that people are misunderstanding.
Yeah, there is no risk in having screen.
It's a screen. You can watch TV on it. You can play games on it. It's just a screen. You make it a medical device when you include a medical device on it. Then it's a medical device. But before that, it's just a screen. So, but they were struggling to understand that, because they asked me, oh, can we have a technical documentation, a quality management system? I mean, they wanted to do everything. And then I convinced them at the end that it's not a medical device. So don't struggle about that. Don't go through this route, because it will be difficult for you. But it was really difficult because they misunderstood the reason for that.
Yes, Munir, and the attendees, they're asking for if the documentation, I think the presentation is available for them. They can.
Yeah. All the presentation is available. All the documents that I showed to you also. So, for example, when you go to, let's say, for example, when you go to the document that I showed you before, Udemy also, you click on the Udemy image and you arrive to the Udemy page. You click on this NDCG guidance and you arrive to it, etc. So I put also the links to all of them there. So you just click on it and then you arrive to the document that I placed there. So I think Bayan will send you all or make it available everything. So then you can look at everything. And if you have any questions, so you can contact me and I can help you on anything that you have or any medical devices that you have also.
Thank you very much, Munir.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, Dr. Hani, I just want to say that if you would like to receive the documents that Munir were talking about, I will now add the link to join our listserv emailing list. So you can receive all the presentations and the documents, okay? So I will put the link now. Please feel free to use it and join our email listserv email. Thank you.
Great.
It looks like we have covered all the questions. Munir Al-Azzouzi, is there anything else before we wrap up?
So as we said, the EU MDR is complex. So I don't think that it's really an easy thing. Even me, when, for example, people are coming to me with products, it's not like easy for me to find everything. It's really complex. So you have, just for people that maybe want to understand or read the EU MDR, don't read it just one time. One time is not sufficient. Read it 10 times, 20 times, and even after 20 times, you will find still new things that you haven't understood before. So EU MDR is really complex, so don't think that just by reading one time you will understand everything. It's really difficult text. And there is a lot of guidances also, NDCG guidance, as I showed to you, that are trying to help you to understand it. So if you really want to go to this route, you have really to be, if I can say, conscious that it's not really so easy to just read and then implement the rules. So it's something that is there. But yeah, if you have any question, as I said, I'm available and I can really help you for that.
I want to ask about the different schools between US and Europe and Canada.
Yeah.
In general, if as example, US want to import some devices from Europe.
Yeah.
So they will follow the Europe rules or the US rules?
US rules. So it's the country where the product is reserved. So for example, if the product was approved in Europe, you cannot import it to the US until the product has followed also the US rules. The same, if a product is a US certified, it was sold maybe since 20 years in the US, it cannot go to the European Union unless they are following the European Union laws. So it's why I'm saying it's not, those laws are not connected at all. It means that Europe is not looking that your product is approved in the US. They are not saying, oh, your product is in the US, so then it's fine, you can enter the European Union. No, it's not at all. Each rule is different, each regulation is different. So if your product is not approved for European Union, it cannot be entering the European Union, even if it's approved all over the world. It's only if they are following the European Union rules that it will enter the European Union.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, I will just wrap up. We have today, we discussed a lot of details about the medical device classification. First, remember to check if the product is qualified as a medical device first, then go for the classification and regulatory requirements. Today also, Munir showed us the number of classes, which is 4 classes in Europe, and there is subclasses. And also there is rules to follow, and there is certification. There is products that needs a self-certification, partial certification, and full certification from the notified body. We also check that the rules itself, there is 4 categories. There is the invasive, there is non-invasive, there is active devices, and there is a special rules. Also, the duration of use impact the medical classification process. There is transit use, there is short-term use, there is long-term use, and what I can say that, as Munir said, yes, it's very complicated, and even that's now the technology is developing. There is 3D printing, there is artificial intelligence, data science. So all of these impacting the medical device mainly. So it became very regulated. Before we used to work in pharmaceutical, we see pharmaceutical is much more advanced than medical device, but for now, yes, you need expert advice. And we are very happy that we had the chance to have Munir with us, one of the advocates in the field of the medical device, regulatory affairs and quality. I think that now we are good for now, and we have come to the end of our webinar. I would like to thank everyone who made this webinar possible, Bayan and IVBN, and I thank Munir Al-Azzouzi for his insights and very, very informative workshop. Thank you so much, Munir. And
You're welcome.
Thank you all again for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, Hani. Thank you, Munir, for accepting our invitation. I don't know if Dr. Muna is still with us. Dr. Muna, I think she will be with us in minutes. Thank you for everything you have taught us about tonight. It was a really interesting presentation, and I thought it's obvious from the comments. Everyone is asking about the presentation, the materials. It's, for me personally, it was really an interesting webinar, and I learned a lot from you, Munir. Thank you so much. And Dr. Hani, we were pleased to have you with us tonight. So thank you for everything, and thanks for accepting our invitation.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Munir, if you can stop recording, please, from your side. I think now it's recorded on the cloud, right?
I don't know how to stop that, but
there is behind the recording.
I'll find it.
Yeah.
Stop recording. Yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah.
Here. Okay.